Today on Public Eye News, a solar farm open house and a reduction in Marquette power bills.
Later in the show, Abigail Marty will have your weather, and Scott Minshaw will be back to give you the sports for the day. Hi, I'm Joe Sigourney.
And I'm Scott Minshaw. Welcome to Public Eye News. Good news for Marquette residents as the Marquette Board of Light and Power has adopted a rate reduction for an average of 3.7% for customers. The amount will vary by usage for families and will also be different for commercial or business customers. According to BLP administration, the rate reduction is because of a more efficient power plant in the Marquette Energy Center. BLP Executive Director Tom Carpenter said, quote, "It's an operational efficiency gain with the new natural gas-fired power plant that we have. We transitioned from the Shira steam plant to this. This is a much more efficient use power plant and it's a lot more dispatchable against the grid. We're able to buy power back and it's kind of bundled up and all that, and we're going to pass it back to our customers." For the past year, Savion LLC, a solar and energy company, has been evaluating sites in Marquette County for a solar farm. Yesterday, Savion hosted an open house to transform the public about the Superior Solar Project and to get feedback from the community. Courtney Timmons, the development director at Savion, said, quote, "What Savion is doing here today is soliciting feedback from the local community. We have identified the site as having very strong fundamentals for having a solar energy project," end quote. Timmons went on to say that the project would not break ground for at least another 2 to 3 years, and construction would last anywhere from 1 to 1.5 years. The Savion development team will be hosting more community information centers and will continue to get feedback from the community.
The Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development is now accepting proposals for the Rural Development Fund Grants, a competitive grant program aimed at promoting sustainability of land-based industries and supporting infrastructure that benefits rural communities in Michigan. This grant can be used for expansion and sustainability of land-based industries, worker trained related to land-based industries, and energy, transportation, housing, communications, water, and wastewater infrastructure to benefit rural communities. This grant can also be used for micropolitan statistical areas, which are defined by the United States Department of Management and Budget as an area county at least with one urban cluster of at least 10,000 but fewer than 50,000 population. The 2021 fiscal year within state government starts this Thursday, and along with it comes a new and important benefit for nearly 49,000 employees that work for the state of Michigan. Paid parental leave for state employees begins October 1st, 2020, providing eligible individuals up to 12 weeks of paid leave immediately following the birth or adoption of a child. Before beginning a paid parental leave, the employee must give notice of the expected start and end date for the leave. The leave begins on the date of birth or adoption and ends at most 84 days later. Births or adoptions before October 1st, 2020 do not qualify for paid parental leave.
A Michigan group has submitted over 500,000 signatures to repeal a law that has given Governor Gretchen Whitmer broad emergency powers during the coronavirus pandemic. Unlock Michigan is demanding that the veto-proof initiative be put before the Republican-led legislature before the year's end. It needs roughly 340,000 valid voter signatures for the bill to qualify and currently has a 200,000 signature cushion. State Attorney General Dana Nessel, a Democrat, is investigating whether the ballot drive used illegal tactics. The Democratic governor has opposed the initiative, saying a 1945 law gives her unilaterally extend a state of emergency and has helped her save lives. Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson Friday announced branch offices would offer priority driver's license and state ID appointments from Monday, October 5th through Monday, November 2nd. The priority appointments, which will be available from 3 to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, are for Michigan residents who need to get a first-time license or ID, replace one because it is lost, or correct because of a name change or other change to a license or ID. In addition to the priority appointment time slots, residents can also complete these first-time replacement or correction transactions and a number of other limited types of transactions using the next day and advanced appointment categories available through the online appointment system. After this break, we will have your national and international news.
Here we go. Lights up. Whoa.
The desert was a vast stage where everything that happened there projects onto the rest of America.
I'd experienced it a lot as a place of death.
People get smacked with just the reality of the border wall. We're not asking you to dream. We're asking you to wake up.
Tonight at 10 on WNMU-TV.
Welcome back. President Donald Trump continued his assault on the integrity of the U.S. elections during the presidential debate Tuesday, spreading falsehoods about the security of voting and misrepresenting issues from mail-in ballots. With an effort to ease Americans about voting for this election, voting rights organizations in New Mexico have announced a nonpartisan voter protection program intended to make it easier for people to report election interference and seek out a consultation on other problems at the polls or with absentee ballots. Republicans plan to send out some 50,000 poll watchers in the battleground states and are already clashing with detailed local regulations about who can stand at the polls to monitor and challenge balloting. Organizers of the remote monitoring plan were seeking out volunteers to train in advance. Absentee balloting begins October 6th across New Mexico, and early voting convenience centers open on October 17th for in-person voting. As Halloween season approaches, there is a lot of concern for seasonal stores and activities. We check into Portsmouth, Virginia to see how things are changing this year for one haunted house.
Honestly, we were not going to open our doors this year.
But they kept getting calls from people who were tired of being indoors and about ready to scream. So the crew here at Spooky Acres Haunted House got to work.
We've spent 5 weeks out here sanitizing this place top to bottom, every item, nook, cranny.
From the door handles to this heart on a serving tray. The owner of the haunted house, Paige Barton, was nervous after the CDC released their Halloween guidelines.
We thought that would be like, oh, nobody's going to come, nobody's going to want to do this.
Indoor haunted houses are considered a high-risk activity, along with traditional trick-or-treating and costume parties.
And then we have a sanitizer to come through.
She gave us a walkthrough of the house decorated with skulls, coffins, and tombstones. Guests are only allowed to go in with the group they came with, and temperatures will be taken at the door.
We've got our cleaning crews that are set up 7 stations through the house.
Before people enter the haunted house, they must make sure they have a mask on and sanitize their hands before they enter this spooky experience.
No! 100% of the money people pay to put themselves through a little fear goes towards the local March of Dimes chapter, a nonprofit that helps mothers and babies during pregnancy.
A lot of their fundraising has been cut short this year because of COVID.
So for every dollar and scream you put out, you're giving back to the community. In Norfolk, Nanacincio Bonsu, News 3.
On Friday, Germany's foreign minister condemned the apparent neo-Nazi defacement of a religious symbol outside a synagogue in Berlin. Police in the German capital said a piece of parchment inscribed with verses from the Torah was removed from its case at a synagogue's doorpost. Defaced with swastikas and replaced. Police were alerted to the incident late Thursday. Foreign Minister Heiko Maas tweeted, quote, "It simply hurts to see something so disgusting. This crime must be quickly solved and those responsible punished," end quote. German authorities have pledged to heighten security around Jewish premises and are investigating the matter. Shocking news today as President Trump announced via Twitter that he and First Lady Melania Trump have tested positive for the coronavirus. The tweet has already become the most liked and retweeted presidential tweet of all time. Natalie Brand has more details from the White House.
The president has developed minor symptoms following his positive test for COVID-19. President Trump confirmed his diagnosis on Twitter overnight and said he and the First Lady are now in quarantine and beginning their recovery process. The president's announcement came after one of his closest aides, Hope Hicks, tested positive for the virus on Wednesday. She traveled with the president to Ohio and Minnesota this week. The president confirmed her positive test on Fox News last night while awaiting his own results.
I just went out for a test. They just do it. It'll come back later, I guess. And the First Lady also, because we spend a lot of time with Hope and others.
The White House Physician's Office is now conducting contact tracing, but it's still unclear how many people may have been exposed. Vice President Mike Pence's office announced he tested negative for COVID-19 this morning.
The president's response to the coronavirus pandemic has been a key issue in the presidential race. His diagnosis takes him off the campaign trail for now, with just 32 days until Election Day.
Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden tweeted that his thoughts and prayers are with the president and first lady for a swift recovery.
I don't wear a mask like him. Every time you see him, he's got a mask. He could be speaking 200 feet away from it. He shows up with the biggest mask I've ever seen.
Biden, who shared the debate stage with the president on Tuesday, is expected to be tested today, according to a source familiar with the campaign. Natalie Brandt, CBS News, the White House.
In an update to the story, former Vice President Joe Biden and his wife have tested negative for COVID-19. After this break, we'll be back with your weather and sports. Stay tuned.
On Masterpiece.
I've known the family for years. I watched the children grow up. I have met a new friend, a boyfriend.
I don't like it. Dad's only been gone a year. I just think he's got a really strange hold over it.
What did his first wife die of?
Had there been tension in the family? Was that on the phone?
Your wife.
I want our little family back.
I never, ever dreamt
Flesh and Blood.
it would end like this.
On Masterpiece.
Sunday night at 9.
Good evening, Youpers. I'm Abigail Mahdi. Welcome back to Public Eye News. As you can see, it's not a very nice day out in the peninsula. It's pretty cloudy and rainy. For today, partly cloudy with a temperature of 41 and winds from our north-northeast at around 10 miles per hour with the pressure at 30.2 and rising. All right, for tonight, cloudy skies with a low of 34 with our winds from our north-northwest at around 5 miles per hour. For tomorrow, we're going to have cloudy skies with a high of 46 and our winds from our west at around 5 miles per hour. Looking around the peninsula, not very nice out, all cloudy. In Sault Ste. Marie, 46 and cloudy. In Manistee, 46 and cloudy, 43 and cloudy for Escanabra. In Menominee, it is 47 and cloudy. Iron Mountain, 45 and cloudy. Ironwood, 38 and cloudy. Up in Houghton, a 41 and cloudy. And then back in Marquette, 41 and cloudy also. Looking for our week ahead, on Sunday, we'll have a high of 49 with a low of 37 and rainy skies. For Monday, a high of 57 with a low of 48 and cloudy with some gusty winds developing later. On Tuesday, we're going to have a high of 60, a low of 49, and partly cloudy skies. And off to sports.
Well, thank you very much, Abby. The NBA Finals are underway. The LA Lakers lead the Miami Heat 1-0 in the series, and Game 2 is set for tonight at 9. In other news around the NBA, the 76ers have hired legendary coach Doc Rivers. Rivers agreed to a 5-year deal with the Sixers, and then this deal comes only 3 days after he parted ways with the Clippers, who he coached for 8 years. Rivers takes over a 76ers team that lost in the first round of the Eastern Conference playoffs and continues to consider changes to a roster that upper management of the team remains determined to construct around All-Stars Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. Earlier this week, the Tampa Bay Lightning won the Stanley Cup for the second time in the franchise's history. While the season has certainly been different, some things will never change. The team had a fantastic celebration on the ice and in the locker room following the game. And even in the midst of a pandemic, the show must go on, and the city of Tampa hosted a socially distanced parade for the team. Instead of the traditional celebration of buses and cars, the players rode through the Hillsborough River on boats. The parade ended with a pep rally in Raymond James Stadium. Finally today, the MLB playoffs are now underway. 16 teams remain in the hunt to win the World Series. The Tampa Bay Rays sit on top of the American League, and the Los Angeles Dodgers are the #1 seed in the National League. The MLB is moving its postseason to neutral sites now, following the lead of other major sports leagues using a bubble format to limit the exposure to COVID-19. For a complete MLB playoff schedule, visit MLB.com. Well, that's all we have for today. On behalf of everyone down here at Public Eye News, I'm Scott Minshaw.
And I'm Joe Sigourney, and thanks for tuning in. Have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday.
The preceding program was produced by WNMU-TV, Northern Michigan University Public Television, in studios located in Elizabeth and Edgar Hardin Hall.